or no?
Yeah, he cooperated. I mean, I didn't say. It.
Big Meech thought he was making a power move by linking up with Rick Ross. But now he's finding out the hard way. Loyalty in the industry is nothing but a myth. After turning his back on 50 Cent and siding with Rose, Meech is fresh out of prison with nothing but betrayal waiting for him on the outside. At first, Rick Ross was showing Meech all kinds of love, even promising to put him back on his feet. But as soon as that deal fell through, Rose wiped his hands clean and ran straight back to his own enemy, 50 Cent.
Oh, put your back against the wall and just slide down. You already know, car show going down June 7th. Get online right now, get your tickets right now. But for the hustlers, I want y'all to understand you got to stop making business personal.
Now Meech is standing all alone, betrayed by the very man he thought had his back, and realizing the streets move a whole lot differently than they used to.
I never folded, never told, never will. Death before the time.
But why would Rick Ross flip on Big Meech like that? And is 50 Cent really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Oh, trust me, this story goes deep, and things are about to get messy. Let's get into it. You know what they say, what goes around comes around, and right now, Big Meech is finding that out the hard way. After spending years behind bars, Meech thought he was about to make his big comeback. But instead, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place with nobody left in his corner. The same man he turned his back on, 50 Cent, is thriving off the BMF brand, while the one he ran to, Rick Ross, is washing his hands clean like he never knew him. But here's the thing. Even though Rick Ross might have played the snake by whispering in Meech's ear, trying to drive a wedge between him and 50, he might have accidentally done 50 Cent the biggest favor ever. Because let's be real, if Meech could betray 50 that easily after everything he's done to keep his name alive with the BMF show, then maybe he was a bad seed waiting to expose himself all along. Now the word on the streets is that Meech is scrambling, looking for someone to blame for why his legacy concert flopped, and why no one's rushing in to help him back on his feet. And who better to point the finger at than the man who gassed him up and left him hanging, Rick Ross.
And we 2 days away from the Big Meech concert. Get your tickets right now. Make sure everybody flying to the city for this. It's going to be huge.
Because if you really break it down, Meech was just a pawn in Rick Ross's game. Ross never wanted to help Meech. He wanted to humiliate 50 Cent and snatch the whole BMF legacy for himself.
Look, but I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film.
But the second things got messy, Ross dipped out, leaving Meech high and dry. Now Meech is out here trying to play the victim, but the truth is, he played himself. And if there's one thing the streets don't forgive, it's a man who switches sides the second someone waves a little money in front of him. But how deep does this betrayal go? And is 50 Cent really sitting back watching all this with a grin on his face, knowing he got rid of a snake without even lifting a finger? Honestly, the streets are saying 50 might have pulled some strings to get Big Meech's welcome back concert shut down.
Y'all gonna be disappointed when Lil Baby don't show up? When Skilla don't show up, when Vizzo don't show up, and all these show up?
But let's keep it real. Why would 50 even need to get his hands dirty when Meech was already setting himself up for failure? The snitching rumors were already out there. The concert was giving desperation instead of legacy. And if there's one thing 50 knows how to do, it's sit back and let his enemies destroy themselves. Just 2 hours before the show was supposed to pop off, the Amerint Bank Arena pulled the plug out of nowhere. Their official statement said, due to unforeseen circumstances, tonight's show has been canceled. Refunds will be made at point of purchase. No explanation, no even got announced. 50 was out here telling everybody it would never happen. And now that he's been proven right, he's doing what he does best, being the pettiest today. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm stronger than you think I am. Now, if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Because 50 doesn't deny anything. He just makes sure you know he's always 2 steps ahead. Then he hit Instagram again, acting all apologetic. If you bought an outfit and was ready to turn up, I apologize for whoever's responsible. Let's get to that. Come on now, that's pure villain behavior. But the final nail in the coffin is when a fan straight up accused him of shutting the whole event down. 50 reposted and said, I apologize for your trip to Miami, but been playing with me. So you know, let's build when y'all get back to the city. At this point, 50 is out here playing chess while everyone else is still trying to figure out how to roll the dice. And while Big Meech is out here scrambling to find someone to blame, the truth is, he played himself. Rick Ross set him up, 50 washed his hands, and now Meech is out here all alone with no legacy concert, no friends, and no one to clean up his mess. Honestly, at the end of the day, Big Meech is left empty-handed. He's out. Sure, but 50, he's done. No more support, no more loyalty, and definitely no more backing for Meech's family. And let's not forget, the main breadwinner of the family, Lil Meech, just lost his job. Lil Meech tried to pull the loyalty card on 50 Cent to keep the concert alive, but that strategy did not work. Season 4 of BMF has been canceled, and it's not hard to see why. 50 Cent recently posted Lil Meech's private text messages, and they have become the center of attention. In the messages, Lil Meech claims he would give 50 the shirt off his back, while simultaneously defending his father's connection to Rick Ross. The most shocking part of the message is that Lil Meech admitted Rick Ross gave Big Meech money to cover his bills until the next season of BMF begins. They just told me you unfollowed me on Instagram, and now you managing Skilla Baby with Rocket. When I brought him around you first, when you didn't have a clue who he was. Now you mad at me when I would take the shirt off my back for you. I can't believe this, man. You act like I'm your enemy. I've only ever showed you love and loyalty. I go through my own ish, but I never switched up on you. F. Ross. But he gave my dad some bread so he can afford to pay his bills until our next season starts. Big Meech not only aligned himself with 50 Cent's biggest enemy, but now is financially dependent on Rick Ross. Rick Ross appears to be manipulating the situation behind the scenes by providing financial support while driving a wedge between Big Meech and 50 Cent. The game also commented on the situation. He criticized Lil Meech for not standing firmly with his father, suggesting that Lil Meech should have shown unwavering loyalty to the BMF legacy. Just seen a text from Lil Meech to 50 that got me dying. Hey Lil Meech, you were supposed to be like, F you, this BMF, and I'm standing with my pops. Now me and Fifth got our own issues. But that ish on pause while I post this. Then Fifth said, what's your little A gun do? I damn near spit my water out. What happened to Gangsta Man? Big Meech, you can't let 50 get at you like that. 50 Cent seems to be watching his enemy self-destruct without lifting a finger. The situation is no longer just about snitching rumors. Big Meech is appearing more like a pawn in his own legacy, while Rick Ross pulls the strings and 50 Cent observes from the sidelines. The BMF legacy is unraveling, and 50 Cent is letting the circumstances take their natural course. Everyone saw the concert failing long before it happened, except for the Meeches. Lil Meech, the one person expected to uphold himself caught in the middle of a situation that could have been avoided. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is not holding back. He is now taking direct shots at Big Meech's parenting, calling him out for how he handled Lil Meech's future. Recently, a social media post resurfaced old footage of Lil Meech with Rick Ross's daughter, Toey Roberts. This situation goes back years, and 50 Cent wasted no time adding his thoughts. He openly questioned why Rick Ross, who is now suddenly aligning himself with Big Meech, never stepped in to help Lil Meech when it actually mattered. 50 Cent pointed out that Ross and the people surrounding Big Meech did nothing for Lil Meech's future, while he was the one who paid for him to attend acting school and establish himself in the industry. He directly called out Meech's priorities, saying that instead of ensuring his son's success, he came home acting like the Black Pablo Escobar and ultimately ruined things for him. This situation has gone beyond just a rap feud. It has turned into a complete betrayal. Big Meech, who once had 50 Cent's backing, made a choice that pushed him further into isolation. Now the damage has been done, and 50 is making it clear that he is not the one to forget. This feud with Ross adds another layer to the chaos. Their beef stretches back to 2008, fueled by diss tracks, legal battles, and one infamous lawsuit that cost 50 a cool $7 million. Ross took another shot last year, calling 50 broke. But if history has proven anything, it's that 50 never lets things slide, and neither is Gene Deal.
I can't believe a stand-up dude during his time would suddenly say, I don't want to be here no more. I'm going to become a rat.
Now the drama is threatening more than just egos. It's putting 50's business at risk. Word is this might be the final season of BMF, a show tied to his $150 million Stars deal. Walking away from that money would hurt most people. But 50, he plays the long game. If he built it once, he'll do it again. Because once you cross him, there's no turning back. And this is where the whole situation starts looking real shady. 50 Cent didn't just pull the snitch allegations out of nowhere. Rumors about Big Meech cutting a deal with the feds have been floating around for a while now. Long before 50 aired him out, there were already whispers that Meech might have flipped. And at the center of it all was Tammy Cowens, a woman Meech considered a close friend, but who was also known as a federal informant. Tammy allegedly played a key role in helping Meech negotiate the deal that shaved years off his sentence. But let's not kid ourselves. Meech wasn't walking out of prison early without giving the feds something major in return. And that something, it was his longtime friend and business partner, Dion Gatling, better known as Cuffy.
Was set up by one of his best friends, which is Demetrius Flannery, also known as Big Meech.
Cuffy and Meech have been tight for years, running business together long before Meech got locked up. But according to Cuffy's daughter, Tamara Gatling, their whole family was blindsided when they found out Meech was the one who set Cuffy up.
In 2011, around that time, Meech reached out to my dad in regards to creating a BMF movie.
They only pieced it together after identifying one of the confidential informants involved in the case. And guess whose name kept showing up in the paperwork? Big Meech. It gets even messier. To smooth things over, Meech had personally connected Cuffy with Tammy Cowens, who wasn't just some random associate. She was Meech's power of attorney and literally owned the rights to his life story at the time. Cuffy, trusting his old friend, thought he was stepping into a legitimate opportunity. Instead, he ended up behind bars. Once the discovery documents started rolling in, it became clear that CS1, the confidential informant, was none other than Tammy Cowens. But everyone knew Tammy wasn't moving without Meech's blessing. When the Gatling family confronted Meech about the situation, he brushed them off like it was just a big misunderstanding. But the more they dug, the more the truth started coming out. Tammy may have been the one wearing the wire, but there's no way she was working behind Meech's back. In the end, Cuffy took the fall while Meech walked free, proving that all the talk about brotherhood didn't mean a damn thing when the feds came knocking. Even with all the evidence out there, some people are still out here bending over backwards to defend Big Meech. Right on cue, young Buck jumped into the conversation, trying to cape for Meech like this was his last shot at staying relevant.
Playing with dude. Quit playing with dude. You know, I'm gonna say that much. Over and out. I catch y'all when I catch y'all. It's Buck.
But if there's one thing we know about 50 Cent, it's that he doesn't do second chances. His response? Ruthless. He wasted no time clowning young Buck, dragging him for his past controversies. This fool fell out with me because he liked boys, 50 Cent wrote. I didn't tell him to go loving on a tranny. He couldn't resist like that bussy. Now the haters are out in full force, accusing 50 of being a culture vulture and stirring up drama just to sabotage promotions. But if you really break it down, who's actually benefiting from all this mess?
So BMF is BMF, but not because of 50, it's because of Big Meech, right? That's his story, that's his life, right? So I don't think 50 doing them no favors. They both profited, right? It ain't just like...
Both sides have made serious money off the BMF name. Big Meech's story turned into a whole TV series, putting his legacy on the map for a new generation. Meanwhile, Lil Meech landed a career that wouldn't even exist without 50's backing. Yet somehow 50 is the one catching heat for calling out the truth.
That don't mean I owe you no loyalty. That don't mean I can't go get money elsewhere, right? If more money get presented to me, right, I'm going to go get me a bag. I just did 20 years in prison, right? I'm not going to let nobody stop no bags come in because of y'all beef, bro.
At the core of it, this whole situation isn't about clout or promotions. It's about loyalty. And if there's one thing everybody knows about 50 Cent, it's that he doesn't tolerate betrayal. He stood by the BMF family, gave Lil Meech an opportunity, and helped him become something more than just his father's son. But the second it became convenient, they switched up. Now 50's making it crystal clear there's no coming back from that. And believe it or not, Lil Meech is already realizing just how badly he fumbled the bag. After everything 50 Cent did for him, putting him on, paying for acting school, and giving him a career while Big Meech was locked up, Lil Meech turned around and flipped sides. Now he's paying the price. How bad is it? The same Lil Meech who was living the high life on BMF sets is now out here begging for paid promotions for $500. That's not even rent money. That's pocket change compared to the fat checks 50 was cutting him. One minute he's living the Hollywood dream, the next he's scrambling for side hustles just to make ends meet. And
what up, though, boss of all bosses? And today I'm coming to tell all my supporters, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you got, you trying to make it go up, hit me right now.
And you already know 50 isn't letting that slide. If there's one thing about 50 Cent, he's always going to get the last laugh. This whole situation is turning into one of the messiest hip-hop betrayals we've seen in a minute. Big Meech thought loyalty was everything until the same people he trusted started playing both sides. Now with Rick Ross cozying up to 50 Cent and Lil Meech out here hustling for pennies, it's looking like the entire BMF legacy is crumbling right before our eyes. But what do you all think? Did Big Meech bring this on himself by flipping on his own people? Or is 50 just exposing the truth that everyone's been too scared to say out loud? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest tea. This drama is far from over, so stay locked in.
I didn't see it. It was in Miss Mara Salute's book, where his own lawyer said, yeah, if there was anything else that we could do, Your Honor, to help you along with this case.
Word is flying through the streets that Meech is about to give 50 a front row lesson on how a real kingpin handles disrespect. And trust, this ain't just some petty back and forth. This is street legend status on the line. Here's what makes it extra messy. 50 Cent got a rep for spending top dollar to expose people. And when he gets his teeth into someone, he don't let go. But this time, he might want to fall back just a bit because Big Meech is not some regular dude from the block. This is Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, the mastermind behind the Black Mafia family, and his name rings bells coast to coast. Let me break it down real quick. Back in the 1980s.
One night, and then my homeboy that was with me, he was like, Tone Bird, he from BMF too. Tone was like, ask Big Homie, what's up with the movie with 50? Like, what's going on with he from New York? I had to use my New York accent. Yo, what's going on with the 50 Cent movie? So I'm like, oh, yo, Meech, what's up with the movie, with the TV show?
Meech and his little brother, Terry Southwest T. Flannery, jumped in the game heavy, pushing work in the form of $50 bags. By the time the early 2000s hit, these two turned their hustle into a national empire, moving weight through Michigan, Georgia, Florida, Cali, Louisiana, and way beyond. That kind of money flow made the feds sit up and pay attention, so Meech and Terry came up with a slick cover, BMF Entertainment. On the surface, it looked like a regular promotion company, but behind the scenes, that's where the money washing happened.
It's believed that Terry White grew up in an Atlanta housing project. But when FBI and GBI agents arrested him last night, he was living here, a sprawling $200,000 mansion in Jonesboro.
Had a media room where there were 24 TV sets on one wall hooked to a satellite dish. And you could hit a button and all 24 TVs would come on.
Now, here's the twist. BMF Entertainment wasn't all smoke and mirrors. They actually had one artist on the roster, Blue Da Vinci. In 2005, he even dropped a whole album called The World is BMF's. But by October 2003, the feds ran down on Meech, snatching him up and trading his luxury lifestyle for a prison jumpsuit. And back then, most folks pointed the finger at Blue, calling him the snitch, because out of everybody, he looked the softest.
My client would be more than willing to cooperate with you all to help you in this investigation. But now the thing of it is by you admitting what was done, you know what I'm saying, you what you done or whatever, but bottom line is, you know, you didn't take the single plea. You went in and
plus, let's not forget, Blue Da Vinci didn't even get snatched up with the rest of the BMF crew when the feds came crashing down in 2003. When they grabbed Meech, they slapped cuffs on him and took him straight in. But Blue? Somehow, he wasn't caught in that same net. And by the time 2004 rolled around, things got even messier when BMF's logistics boss, Dexter Sosa Hussey, started throwing shade at Blue too.
You know, I just gotta wait to holler at Tammy before, you know what I'm saying, I know where we at with that. And Tammy is a government informant. So when he said that, I was like, Tammy, what you mean, Tammy? Like, nigga, you ain't heard what's going on with her?
Sosa wasn't just talking in the streets either. He was speaking on court records. See, Blue showed up in court with his lawyer, and the lawyer straight up told the judge, Your Honor, I did forget to mention something earlier. You asked about which defendants tried to cooperate, and Mr. McKnight, that's Blue, was one of the people who attempted to work with the government. They debriefed him, but turns out he didn't really know anything useful about the other defendants.
Was giving them information on that they already had and thought it was cool, but you know, that was part of that. You just confirmed other shit that the other CIs just done told.
And get this, the lawyer admitted that Blue's debriefing wasn't even fresh tea. It went down months before that court appearance. Then, just to add another layer, the lawyer said Blue even did a safety valve session earlier that same week. What's that mean? Basically, Blue was ready to talk, but the problem was he didn't have nothing valuable to offer. So yeah, Blue tried to snitch, but the feds didn't even want the crumbs he was serving up. That's when the real question popped off. If Blue didn't have the goods, who gave the feds their inside scoop? And this is where it gets wild. After getting his name dragged all through the mud as the snitch, Blue decided to clear his name once and for all. In 2023, during an interview with Cap Capone News, he flipped the whole script and exposed the real person who gave up the goods. And that's when Tammy Cowan's name hit the spotlight. So, who's Tammy Cowans? She's been Meech's business partner since way back in 2008. And after Meech got locked up, Tammy stayed solid, keeping in touch with him and running errands on his behalf while he was behind bars. And for some reason, Meech thought she was so loyal, he actually gave her control over his life rights. That's right, he signed the paperwork, handing her the power to tell his story to the world. That meant Tammy had the golden ticket. She could flip Meech's life story into a money printing machine. And that's exactly what she did, linking up with 50 Cent to co-produce his hit 2021 show, BMF. But here's where things turn sideways. According to the paperwork Blue leaked, Tammy wasn't just out here securing TV deals. She was allegedly playing both sides, feeding info straight to the feds. In those same leaked documents, Tammy is listed as CS1, a confidential source who teamed up with the DEA's Atlanta division back in 2009. And guess what she gave up? Info that helped crack open a money laundering case, which led to the conviction of a dude named Terry White. This wasn't some small-time hustle either. Terry White was heavy in the game, and thanks to Tammy running her mouth, they got him locked up. Now check this! When Tammy started talking, she wasn't even getting paid. But after her tip helped the DEA bag Terry White, they realized she might actually be useful down the line. So her handler, a DEA agent named Harsh, decided to put Tammy in for a reward, a cut of the value from the assets they snatched from White's operation. And if you know anything about these kingpins, that property haul wasn't chump change. We're talking cars, cash, cribs, and more. But here's the crazy part. Tammy didn't even step into the informant life because she was broke or scared. The paperwork makes it clear she had no criminal record, wasn't caught up in the substance game, wasn't begging for a lighter sentence, and wasn't trying to dodge any charges. Basically, the feds themselves admitted she was one of the weirdest informants they'd ever dealt with. So why'd she do it? Straight revenge! Word is Terry White used Tammy to clean his dirty money without her even knowing. And once she found out, she flipped the whole script. She wasn't about to let anyone make her look like a pawn in their operation. This wasn't about money or freedom. It was personal, and Tammy was playing for payback. But here's the real head scratcher. Why did Tammy keep spilling secrets after the feds already locked up Terry White? That's where things start connecting. But hold up. We'll get to that twist in a second. While all this was going down, Big Meech was cooking up his own play from behind bars, and trust, this one was bold. Inside the pen, Meech crossed paths with a cartel player named Fidel Suarez. This dude wasn't just some corner hustler. He ran a whole trucking company out in California and had already caught the feds' attention more than once. They investigated and arrested him twice, first in 2005 and then again in 2009 for suspected substance trafficking, but both times they couldn't make the charges stick. Meech had a plan, a wild one, to use Suarez's pipeline to keep product moving, even though he was stuck behind bars. He figured if he could still move weight from his cell, he could keep the money flowing, no matter how long his sentence was. But there was one problem. Meech was locked up tight, so he needed someone on the outside to make the plays. That's where Tammy slid right into the picture. According to the paperwork, in September 2011, Meech hit up Tammy, identified as CS1, and asked her to help coordinate the delivery of a load that would be handled by Suarez. At that point, Suarez and Tammy were already talking directly. The docs say Suarez first reached out to Tammy just to check in and ask how Meech was holding up. But that friendly call kicked off something way bigger. With Tammy now plugged in, Meech made her the middlewoman to connect Suarez with his longtime homie, Dion Cuffy Gatling, a heavyweight in the game himself. Cuffy wasn't small-time either. Court records show he ran the whole Gatling trafficking organization, a crew responsible for flooding the streets of St. Louis with product from 2009 all the way to 2014. Together, Meech, Suarez, and Cuffy were lining up to move serious weight across state lines. Only thing? They had a snake in the garden, and her name was Tammy. She was secretly feeding everything back to the feds the whole time. And thanks to her reports, law enforcement had enough dirt to grab Cuffy on March 13th, 2014. When it was all said and done, Cuffy got slapped with 27 years for drug trafficking and using weapons in a deal that led to someone losing their life. But here's the craziest part. Meech never caught a single charge for setting up the whole operation. And that's got everybody asking the same question. How did Meech dodge an indictment when his hands were all over the deal? It's crystal clear the feds knew exactly what was going down, but here's the twist. Tammy straight up lied to protect Meech when they pressed her in court. According to official documents, during a hearing, Tammy was directly asked about paragraph 8 in the reports, where it said, CS1 told investigators that Demetrius Flanori coordinated substance distribution arrangements between Suarez and Gatling. When they hit her with that question, Tammy didn't even blink. She said no, and she didn't stop there. When they doubled back and asked if Meech had anything to do with setting up those multi-kilo cocaine deliveries from Suarez to Gatling through her, she denied that too. She covered for Meech all the way, no hesitation. But after that stunt, the feds put a giant red flag on her name. They realized they couldn't trust her anymore. But wait, it gets even messier. Turns out, Tammy wasn't just tangled up in the case. She was getting cozy with one of the DEA agents working the whole investigation. That's right. She was sleeping with someone on the inside, and that little fling ended up compromising the entire case. Tammy was deep in dangerous territory, playing every angle like a chess master. But eventually, the whole thing started crashing down on her head. By March 2015, everything flipped when Tammy came across a suppression motion filed by Gatling's legal team. That motion was a serious problem because it could expose her identity as the confidential source. The moment Tammy realized her name might get out there, panic hit her hard. And with good reason. Gatling wasn't just any dealer. He had a reputation. Official records show Gatling was convicted for ordering the hit on a man named Theus Howard back in 2010, all because Howard dared to snitch on Gatling's brother and his trafficking business. And if that wasn't enough, Gatling's name was tied to another hit in 2013, this time on a man named Terrence Morgan. Why? Because Gatling found out Morgan was about to start talking to the feds about his drug empire. So Gatling made sure Morgan didn't live long enough to say a word. With all that blood on his hands, if Gatling found out Tammy was the one feeding info to the feds, it would have been lights out for her. No question. Terrified, Tammy ran to the feds for protection, but they straight up ignored her. So, With nowhere else to turn, Tammy made one last desperate move. She went to see Big Meech himself. But after all those years of loyalty, the man Tammy had been riding for, Big Meech himself, wasn't exactly ready to return the favor. When she went to him, scared for her life and looking for help, all Meech told her was that he didn't want his name tangled up in any of it. Straight like that. Meech wasn't trying to get his hands dirty or catch heat from Gatling, and he definitely didn't want his name popping up in court papers tied to the whole mess. After that cold meeting, Tammy flipped the script completely. She went into full cleanup mode, doing everything possible to erase Meech's name from the case entirely. She even dragged the DEA agent she'd been messing with into the chaos, accusing him of being jealous of her bond with Meech. Court records show Tammy, aka CS1, even threatened to blast out an unsworn affidavit to every single person involved in the case, from the lawyers to the judge. And in that affidavit, she went off, specifically calling out the statements in the wiretap affidavit that claimed Meech set up the whole deal between Gatling and Suarez. Tammy said flat out that Agent Chroma, the same agent she was sleeping with, only threw Meech's name in the mix because he was salty about how close she was to Meech. But even with all her wild moves, none of it really saved Tammy in the end. Once Cuffy got locked up, it didn't take him long to figure out exactly who snitched on him. And when he did, it was game over. Cuffy filed for a Frank's hearing, which gave him the legal right to put his accusers on the stand. That meant everybody, from the government agents to the informants, had to face him directly. And yeah, that definitely included Tammy. Fast forward to 2024. Blue Da Vinci sat down for yet another interview with Cap Capone, but this time, he had backup. Cuffy himself called in from prison, ready to air it all out. And Cuffy didn't hold nothing back. He said the real reason Meech never got hit with charges was because he played the system like a pro, using third-party cooperation to protect himself, even if it meant throwing others under the bus. Like I always say, if you kick it with a known snitch, your name gonna get dirty too, no matter how solid you claim to be. That's just the way it works in the streets. And for everybody asking why all this old dirt is suddenly getting dug back up, you can thank 50 Cent for that. The moment 50 started talking, the whole internet tuned in. Love him or hate him, when 50 speaks, the streets listen. And to make it even wilder, 50 ain't done yet. He's already threatening to drop a full tell-all story exposing every shady move Meech ever made. According to 50, this is gonna prove once and for all that Meech played both sides and worked with the feds. So now we gotta ask, is Meech really guilty? Or is this just another 50 stunt to push his own agenda? Either way, the streets are watching, and this story is far from over. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Meech really a snitch, or is 50 just stirring the pot? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next drop. And trust me, the next one, it's gonna be even crazier. See you on the next one.